Hi folks, how you doing? RussellTrueResults303.com. Check out the website. Link in the description box. Mind, body, spirit, fitness. Putting the healing back in health. Coming at you today with a video about taxing the rich, right? So of course right now here in America we are getting ready for election time. There's debates going on everywhere. What is this? They're talking about taxing the rich, right? I used to be, I guess you could say the hardcore Republican, whatever you want to call it. At least that's how I'm registered. I'm still registered that way. I'm not registered independent just because I'm too lazy to change it. I'm just staying registered because at least they'll send me the mail-in ballot, right? So I just sit at home, I stay Republican, and I get the mail-in ballot. So this is the first year actually I've started listening to more Democratic debates because, like I said, I'm in the middle. And once again, you've got to do your own research when you're deciding to vote. Don't listen to these politicians, whatever the case may be. Same thing yet last night was the Democratic or the Republican debate. The last one I watched was just the Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton on PBS. So last night was the Republican, and today's Valentine's Day, 2016. So yesterday would have been the 13th. I listened to that one while I laid in bed on Intune Radio. But what is this taxing the rich that they're talking about, right? And once again, I am definitely not the go-to guy. I'm just trying to give you food for thought. If what I'm talking about is misguided, comment in the box and feed off of it. Let's get something going, right? Just trying to empower the people since the vote is coming. It's coming up. Election time's coming. So Bernie Sanders, they're talking about is this big-time socialist, right? Or the Democratic Party in general, and they talk about taxing the rich. And then I was listening to Republican conservative radio on the way home, and they said, well, how do you expect to tax the rich? And then Bernie Sanders and everybody will admit that the infrastructure in America is falling apart, bridges, roads, transportation, anything like that. And we need to create jobs or they say they're going to create jobs by fixing our roads and our bridges and creating these jobs, right? So, but the one guy made a good point on the conservative radio where he said, how can they expect to tax the rich, these big corporations and these companies, and yet use that money to create jobs, right? That doesn't make any sense. And then he said, yes, a lot of companies do have big gains one year, and then they are in the red the next year, and they operate off of a loss. But the thing I want to share with is now I have a little bit more information on the middle ground. And what Bernie and them are talking about is cutting the tax loops, right? They're going to eliminate those tax holes and not allow these big corporations to use them. And how does that work though, right? Since I recently have met and been discussing with someone that works on business evaluations and things like that, I get a little bit of insight on the dirt, right? He knows some of these loopholes and things that will ensure that companies don't have to pay big taxes, right? So what happens is they go to this company for taxes. This company finds all the loopholes for them, and they pay this company $20,000 to save them 5, 10, 15 million dollars in tax cuts, right? So that's what they do. They hire these tax professionals, say, here's what we made, fudge the numbers, find the loopholes, and we'll pay you 20,000 to save 10 to 15 million. And that's what Bernie is talking about, right? He's talking about cutting those loopholes so they have to actually pay taxes on that money, right? Because what they do is in these tax firms, they find out ways to loop the money. Hey, if you gift the money here and you put the money here and then you move it over here, you pay less tax, if not no tax at all, right? So that's what they're talking about. And is it possible that doing that is going to create jobs and these businesses can still thrive? In my opinion, yes. And yes, they still can. But once again, we need more information. This little bit of information I'm giving you isn't right. There's still more to the puzzle. But hopefully y'all learn that. The election is in November. It's only February. So we've got to be able to still do our own research. But that's kind of what he's talking about. These same people, I've heard him say that, the boss paid himself $250,000. He paid me $50,000. His other employee $50,000. His other employee $50,000. He knows the tax loops. I know we made money that year because I know how much everybody makes. This guy was able to see the payroll and know the sheets and everything and knows how much these projects are worth. And he goes, I seen it. He's all, but he fudged the numbers to make it look like we operated at a loss when in actuality we didn't operate at a loss. He's like, I know we didn't, but he operated at a loss and then gave himself the big bonus, right? So that's what they're talking about, being able to ensure that these companies aren't doing those types of things. Now, of course, there are maybe companies that are truly operating at a loss, even with these tax loops. It could be that it could be that they're operating at such a large loss that they create these tax loops and find them to where it gets them closer to even. And in my opinion, what does that mean? That means that company is just using its money in the wrong way, using its management in the wrong way, right? I used to work for a landscaping company to where they were always sending the clients or the employees to these Tony Robbins expos and things like that in California or in Texas, I think it was, right? And they were operating in the red within 2 years. At that time they were trying to get some of the management guys to go, my friends, my bosses to go, and he's like, I want to go to that. And within 2 years they went bankrupt. They closed down everything. It's like instead of paying yourself and using your company as your own personal bank, and spending your money unwisely, use it the right way, and that's what that company was doing. Kind of like I made a video on getting out of debt 101, things that you can do to get out of debt. And the thing is, if you want to sit there and pay the minimum when you owe 4 or 5 different companies $10, $15, $20,000, and you're just going to pay them $500 a month every time, yeah, then when hard times fall on you, you're going down the tube, right? I think it's the same way with a business. I don't own a business. I'm getting there. That's why I'm creating these videos. I'm trying to create my own brand, hopefully start my own health coach, personal training online company. So I will have to learn more, trial and error. That's kind of why I'm going in this direction anyways. But, in my opinion, I think a lot of these small companies, they want to operate at their loss, and it's the same thing. Like they said, they want to find these loopholes so they pay less taxes, because if your company actually has a positive and your own company has its own bank account, right? They say a lot nowadays, these companies are registered almost as persons, right? They're registered as persons. So if I have to have my own savings account and my own backup money, shouldn't that company have to have its own savings account and its own backup money and funds so it can operate when it's struggling in hard times? I mean, to me, it only makes sense. If these corporations are trying to go about their business as a person, then they should go through the same budgeting tactics that I go through, right? But they don't want to do that, because if they have $10 million in the bank under the corporation's name, then their taxes is higher, right? But if they can find all these loopholes, gift themselves money, this person money, that person money, they go from paying the 40% down to the 15%. But then unfortunately the company's at zero. Then when the company is struggling, they're not going to pull that money out of their own pocket. The money that should have been in the company funds, they're not going to pull it out of their own pocket, their own bank account that they already gave to themselves to help the company in struggle. They're just going to be like, oh, well, let's just let people go. Let's drop wages. Let's fire somebody, So, I think that's what they're talking about. But of course, there's more research that needs to be done. I'm not sure if that's, that's only part of the story. There's bigger pieces of this puzzle that we're missing. But I hope that's going to help you understand a little bit more of what they're talking about. To me, it makes sense to be able to. The reason why I say it makes sense is I got a buddy who flips houses. Maybe he's watching this video. I'm not going to badmouth him. He does a great job. He's a hard worker. Him and I don't get along. We argue quite a bit, but it's more of a spiritual aspect. But I think the thing we've got to realize is, he flips houses. He does everything himself because he doesn't want to pay someone else, which is fine. But I think when it comes down to paying others to do, actually, I think now he just hired his brother kind of as his employee. So he's getting there. He's moving on up. But what it comes down to is, when it comes to the flipping house, I'm just going to bring that into as an example, would be, yes, if you're flipping one house a year, maybe 2 houses a year, and you're making the 80 grand, 40 grand a house, 50 grand a house, putting you at $80,000 to $100,000 a year, is it better for you to hire people out? And this is the unfortunate thing, though. You're going to hire people out to do the job. So it's going to cost more money for you to actually flip the house versus doing it yourself, because you have to pay someone for the labor instead of doing it yourself, right? But now you're able to flip 4 houses a year, 5 houses a year. But the unfortunate thing is, instead of making the $40,000 a house, now you're only making 30, right? So if you're doing 4 now and you're making 30, that's going to put you at 120. So now, yes, you hired other people out, and you only made $20,000. I think that's where they see the downfall. It's like, man, if I do it all myself, I'm making 40 grand. But if you hire someone else out and you're doing double the houses and you're making $20,000, right? So I think that's maybe what the big business might be struggling with, or people don't, they're hating on why are you going to tax these big companies? Yeah, you're going to tax them a little bit more, but once we start creating these roads and bridges and doing whatever infrastructure things we need, whatever needs to happen, to make America great, you're still going to come back and help this company. You're still going to hire that company to do the business, right? So instead of them making the $100,000, they're going to only be making the 120 because they're paying more taxes, but you're still making 20, right? And then another thing where it comes into is, now that we're in investment, right? I have my own 401k, whatever. Now you're expected to see these 8, 10, 12% gains every year on your 401k, and that's probably not going to happen, right? It's probably not going to happen. They're not going to be able to guarantee these big results because now they're being taxed more. And they just can't give the people the profits that are investing in them. So I kind of might have went off on a tangent there, but like I said, there's more to the puzzle than this, right? They've got to give profits to the people investing in them. They've got to be able to pay the employees themselves, pay for this, pay for that, and still make a profit. So there's more to this puzzle than we could ever imagine. I just hope that this gives you a little bit of insight on it, right? It's not just about taxing the rich, because now if you're getting older, yes, you're a child right now, or younger, a young adult, you don't have a 401k yet, so you don't give a crap, right? But if you're my age or a little bit older, you're going to start getting into these 401ks. You're going to start investing money into some of these companies. So yes, once these companies start getting taxed more and things like that, you're not going to see as big of a return. So it's a big, deep road that we can't even imagine, right? It's like they say, there's more to this world than you will ever know. They say the greatest thing that a man can do is understand that he doesn't know anything, because there's so much going on out there. Every day there's new information going on. Now you can get social media degrees and all these weird degrees that never existed before they didn't have Facebook and Twitter and all these things, and computers, right? Code writing and things like that. From what I see, there's a degree to be a librarian. You need a master's degree to be a librarian. Did you know that? I didn't know that. My cousin has one. He's a librarian. Did not know that. There's all these crazy things that you're never gonna know, and there's a bigger piece of the puzzle, and we've got to figure out the real piece of the puzzle, because they're not gonna tell us anything. They're all special interests. I don't give a crap what they say. So I hope that helps, though. Dive into some more of your own information. Post it below. Let's see what's going on, and let's learn some things, right? Let's vote properly this year to help America, not just ourselves. So I hope that helps. Subscribe to the channel, share and like these videos.